wanted to kind of kick this new kind of podcast platform off, talking to you. Obviously, you built iKONIC, um, and I know your day to day is a lot like mine, which every day we're really in the sports and the business world. So, as a guy who's been my mentor for many years, and yeah, I just thought like, I was really pumped to kind of have you on and also tell your story. Because I know a lot of times you have the microphone pointed at other people. So I thought it'd be really cool for you to come on and tell your story, which I know you have a good story, and you're a pretty self-made guy, which is very easy to respect. I've always tried to pride myself in the same way of being like more self-made and not have things handed over or, kind of born on third. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of that ethos has really carried over into iKONIC, and yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I was really looking forward to having you on. So thanks for jumping on for a bit.
Yeah, anytime, man. You are a blessing to myself, Iconic, and the hockey community, and what we're trying to build here. And I like to call myself, my whole life as a kid, I'm the Forrest Gump of so many things, man. You talk about my early life. I got into radio. A lot of people don't know this. The only people I know this story is probably Paige, and then I told Bryant the story 2 days ago when I met with him at Porto's. But yeah, man, I worked at the number one radio station in all of Los Angeles when I was 19 years old. Actually, 18, turning 19 at 92.3 The Beat. People don't know this. This is my
Crazy.
first time telling the
I
story.
don't even think I knew this.
Yeah, it's my first time telling a story ever, man, on any type of platform interview. So I worked with a gentleman by the name of Trey Black. He had a show from 6 to 10 right after Theo. And what's funny is every time it happens to this day, man, everywhere I go, anyone that knows LA radio would be like, man, Ant, you sound like Theo. You sound like Theo. I'm like, you know what? I actually work with Theo on the radio. So long story short, this is a story about, thinking about your steps and how you maneuver in life, right? So at 18 turning 19, I worked there and I had the biggest ego in the world, brother. Like, a lot of people in the radio station was saying, "Yo, man, you're the next guy. You got this voice. You're dope. This and that." And I took that to heart. So we would go on like radio, kind of like promos. We'll go to Jamaica Gold, this club in LA, and I'll do promo. I'm 18, 19, going to a 21 up club, talk to all these ladies, all these guys who are just like hearing that, hey, I heard you on the radio, this and that. So long story short, I'm talking about ego here. Don't have any type of ego. Don't think far along yourself. So that night after Jamaica Gold, we went to Denny's to have something to eat. And there was a young lady. I was trying to get her pager number. So I'm dating myself right now, getting someone's pager number. And for
Okay.
those who are kids, a pager is something that you put on your hip. And when people need to contact you, you page them or leave them a voicemail and they'll call you back. So that's how old I am. And I don't mind dating myself. So, anyways, long story short, it didn't go well. She said that she knew Theo that worked at the radio station with me, and long story short, things didn't go the right way, and I got exited from the radio station. But it's a story about being humble. Don't talk about other people that you don't know about, and just stay in your lane. At 18, 19 years old, I didn't know about that, but I could have been a radio star, man. I could have been on 92.3 The Beat or whatnot, but that wasn't my lane, and I figure God has a plan for everybody, and my plan was to help other people in real estate. I'm happily married right now with my wife. A great life that God gave me, and it's not by accident. It's a lot of things that you put in the work, and you see your fruits come out to fruition. And it's a lot of the things with help. You have to have help from your colleagues. Like with you, I have a lot of help from you. Sometimes, it's an honor for you to say I'm your mentor, but a lot of times I lean on you to do certain things, and it's a team effort. It's never one person, one man show. It's always a team effort.
Yeah, so I want to kind of toss you the ball to kind of talk about San Gabriel Valley, of course, but I'll preface this for any hockey people watching who are like, "What the hell is the San Gabriel Valley?" So it's about 15 minutes south of Pasadena. The Rose Bowl, the Rose Parade, and all that stuff. Uh, Not a hockey town. For
Yeah.
there's Jason Robertson is awesome Dallas Stars player. His brother Nick Robertson. They're the only two to ever come out of San Gabriel Valley and play,
Wow.
uh, you know, play at the NHL level. It is very much not a hockey town. When I was
Yep.
playing youth hockey, uh, the coach would ask me the rules, and we had a ref one game who someone shot the puck, it hit the
Yeah.
post, it
Yeah.
came out, and then they shot the puck back in the net. The referee counted it as two goals.
No
That's
way.
that's that's how little hockey knowledge and how much hockey culture was in
Yeah.
San Gabriel Valley, but a lot of other culture there. It is definitely
Yeah.
like a kind of melting pot, the kind of the cliche, but uh, an awesome place. Me and you both love it. We
Yeah.
always kind of go back, yeah, an incredible place that I think more people should be put on. So, like, how would you kind of describe, I guess, San Gabriel Valley and also you growing up there?
Well, to what you just said, SGV is not known for ice hockey, rather ice boba. So I'll put that out there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
But but it's the mecca for like Asian food, Southeast Asian food, pho, things like that. But I grew up more or less in Northwest Pasadena, which is Washington, Los Robles. I grew up from a very humble background. My mom was on welfare,
that's
practically
not
my whole
South
life.
Pasadena.
Not South Pasadena,
Very
Northwest
different.
Pasadena. Yeah, it
Very
was very
different.
different. I took the bus most of my life, going to school, even up to college. I remember getting my Jordans. Taken away from me. I was standing on the corner of Washington, Los Robles, waiting for the bus. In my backpack, I had the new threes, and I remember getting taking off my Jordan threes and handing them to somebody. So I remember that experience, getting Jordan jacked. Maybe it's a first term that anyone heard, but I didn't grow up in the greatest area. I didn't grow up with best educational background. My parents were hardworking blue collar people. I worked all my life. I worked at a dry cleaners when I was 12. I did nails with my mom when I was 11, 12. So I did everything, brother. So that work ethic kind of translated to my adult life. I just don't know when to shut it off, right? And being in a place where you don't know where your next meal is going to be, coming from my parents' background, I just have to hustle. So, knowing even though I'm safe and secure in my life right now, I still have to work. I still got to make sure the iconic brand is going to shine. I still got to make sure my real estate deals are in order, and it just kind of translates from my childhood.
And like that kind of, I mean, obviously that sort of background, that's tough going into real estate, right? Let's be honest, a lot of times with real estate, the much easier, cushy transition is if you're kind of, as they say, if you want to be a luxury real estate agent, have
Yeah,
have rich friends and get your real estate license. So,
right.
coming from that background, like how did you have a successful segue into real estate in the first place?
Yeah, and even luxury too. I mean, I feel like most of my sales are in luxury, and it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. Where I think my highest sell, my first few years was in Santa Monica, $2.5 million condo. I sold it within 24 hours. And it's like, wow, how did I even get to that point, right? And being in a place where long story short, I did do loans and stuff like that, and do stuff in real estate for a little bit, maybe a year or so. But 2008 was tough for a lot of people, right? Tough, when we went to the economical crash, a lot of people were affected, and I remember I was one of those people. And everyone goes through personal problems, everyone goes through financial issues, but at one point, I think I shared it on Instagram story or whatnot. But I was actually 31 years old, no, 30, turning 31. And I remember my daughter Alyssa would have to be maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I was on public assistance, right? I had like a little, one of those little credit cards, those EBT cards. And from going through that mindset to seeing where I'm at today, and then, leading a group of people, me and you are doing this amazing things together is like a blessing where, if you really truly have the mindset and keep God first, you're always gonna pull through. But you gotta have the right mindset. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You can't just be down and out all the time. Just know there's a way out, but you got to get yourself out with the Lord as well. But man, it's a lot of things, man. I feel like segueing to luxury, you first get into real estate, people don't believe in you sometimes. It's like, why should I give you the listing, or how many homes have you sold? That type of thing. So I had to make my own inventory, brother. Like, I worked for the gentleman when I first got into real estate, and people say, you know what, you didn't get compensated the right way, or you weren't taken care of the right way. But you know what? I built life experiences, right? Experiences where it's priceless, right? I learned how to hustle, I learned how to find flips, and I built my own inventory. No one gave me any listings, brother. I had to go find listings, get them rehabbed, and list them myself. So my first year in the business, I did about maybe 15 deals, which is pretty unheard of. But a lot of people don't know the backstory is I was finding a lot of those deals myself. I was finding off-market deals, fixers, and then having this gentleman fix it with his company and then give me back the listings. And I wasn't even getting compensated with the listings, man. I was probably getting 1% of the listings, but like I said, man, it taught me a lot, and that experience, a lot of people go through things where you feel like you're ripped off, you feel like you're being undercut, but dude, the life experiences that I had early in my career is priceless. So shout out to that man who gave me that shot, but not a shout out to my pay.
Um, so I guess going from, your early days in real estate to then finding yourself, you and your brother Anton, shout out to Anton, a huge part of everything we've done at iKONIC, a great dude, good
Yeah,
friend. Um, Finding you and your brother Anton on all of a sudden on HGTV on
yeah,
Fix My Flip, I mean, that's pretty insane. That's a lot of realtors and people in the real estate world consider like that's their top of their mountain. That's their Everest is like getting on HGTV.
yeah.
Um, was that kind of like a I made it moment for you?
You know what it did at the moment, Nick, 'cause I've never really been on television like that before. And I remember going to Vallarta. I'll never forget, man. They aired the episode the night before, and I went to Vallarta. Some dude came up to me and goes, "My friend, I saw you on TV, man. You did an excellent job." And I was like, "Wow." And I thought it was gonna be like this forever and ever and ever,
Dude,
but
you
that
ran
thing,
into Tony Montana at Vallarta?
it was my accent's bad. My impressions are bad, my wife will tell you. But I thought it was a moment where this is gonna be ongoing, like, man, people are gonna recognize me. But bro, that only lasted about a week and it died down. But yeah, man, it was something where an opportunity where because of my flipping background, a friend of mine had sent me like an audition. And I think I went through maybe 5 or 6 auditions, and then we finally got it. Me and my brother auditioned for that. We shot not only one episode, but 2 episodes and it was the one I think in Tahunga and another one in South Pasadena. But it was more of experience, and God gave me an opportunity to have a great friend with Paige Turner. I consider her like a sister to me. She's been very instrumental to what I'm doing today, in front of the camera. And being on set in HGTV kind of gave me like an idea, like wow, it's not about just flipping homes. I have the opportunity to be in front of the camera in other avenues. So that kind of segued to what I was doing with the iconic interviews, and then even to the stuff that we're doing with the Tribune, where your life doesn't end just where you feel like this is an opportunity, right? And like I said it myself, we're not just real estate agents, right? We're out here building foundations for people. We're building generational wealth for people. And when people see you on television or they see you on a publication, it's like, wow, I trust Nick or I like Anthony, I like what they're doing, and it's like it's an eye opener, really, right? So HGTV, man, that whole thing, that whole euphoric feeling only lasts about a week, and then people forgot about me.
Yeah, that whole media world and being in front of cameras, that's a wild world, and that's not for everyone. And I told you right away once you linked up with Arash Markazi and started doing the content with the Sporting Tribune,
Yeah.
Westwood Open House, with Donovan Carter, like you went into the deep end real fast and you made it look easy.
Yeah.
So naturally, of course, I started to kind of do some of the same and kind of like test my feet in the media world, and I'm like, this shit is really hard, and it's a different world. And maybe down the road or at some point, if Anton wants to jump on, I would like to get his side because me and him kind of feel the same way about it. But he was telling me kind of his experience with being in front of the cameras on a
Yeah.
a legitimate TV show, and he was kind of sweating about it. It's very you know anxious
Stressful.
and nerve
Yeah.
wracking. So it was funny. I really like, me and Anton definitely were on the same boat. You're a different breed, bro. You're natural with that shit. But uh, yeah, that whole media thing, like you said, Paige, she's obviously awesome. She's like also a natural. So yeah, that's a whole crazy world. It was really fun getting to do it with the Sporting Tribune, but that's a different animal right there.
No, shout out to you, man. Holding Court is probably one of the pods I like watching, not only because I'm biased or anything like that, but because you have some good quality content. You're talking about the hockey world, you're talking about your stories about your brother, just a lot of things that people don't know about you. And I feel like in real estate, we just have to be more personable. There's so many fake things that are going on in real estate when you see the reels, and you see all these agents thinking that's it's selling sunset. No, man, you really got to be connected with the people as much as you can, right? They have to feel like they have something in common with you. But so if you're thinking that you're eating caviar and you're drinking champagne all the time, how is a normal Joe Schmo going to connect with you? So I just like to dumb it down a little bit. I want to work with the people I feel connected with, and in this world, it's more athletes, investors, normal people, first time home buyers. You know, I posted a story that I recently closed a deal with a family in Castaic, man. I went to their housewarming party. I bought them a pig, like I think an 8 foot pig. It was like, those are the things that I like doing, man. I like connecting with people, and that's our superpower, Nick. I think at the end of the day, it's not about the media. It's not about who's got the most clout. We're just so blessed to happen to do this, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to help families out. These athletes build generational wealth, like you said, man. Those lights don't stay on forever. And when those stadium lights go out, what's their next move, right? So we got to help them, man, some way, somehow.
Yeah, and kind of perfect segue there. Like I was gonna ask, just kind of, I guess how iconic came about in your mind. I remember how you presented it to me, and I was kind of like in a kind of a tough place. I think I was like maybe between brokerages or something, just kind of like, what do I make of my real estate path, you know? And
Hmm.
you kind of presented it to me early on, and I was just, of course, all in. I'm like, let's go, like, let's get the band back together. But
Yep.
um, how did the idea of iconic, or even kind of steering into the sports and entertainment world, how did that first like come about for you?
Well, first and foremost, man, I gotta give you a shout out, man. You've always been a loyal friend, a good person, stand-up individual. No, not too many Nick Gallows walking around here, not only in SGV but in the world, man. So shout out to you, man. I
Thank
kind of came about where I was just kind of like sick of the real estate world, right? Seeing so much, I don't want to say any cuss words, so much bullshit out there as far as content, how people lead. And, I felt like, there's got to be something different where it can get me excited again. And I remember during that time, we had just, excuse me, we just recruited Paige to Coldwell Banker, my previous brokerage. And me and her were talking about, hey, you know what, how can we do something that's different, using your superpower, my superpower. So we came up with a sports entertainment department. Um, and we named it iKONIC. And the first person that was trying to win back to the brokerage at CB was you. And I was like, you know what, Nick, I remember us meeting at downtown LA office like yesterday, man. You came down and I said, bro, imagine you can work with LA Kings, imagine you can work with Mighty Duck players and still do real estate. And from that point on, not only did you come back to CB during the time, but we built something special. So it was 2023, right, Nick, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when iKONIC was born. And the reason why I named it iKONIC during the time was I was with Coldwell Banker during the time, and Coldwell, some people call it Oldwell. I don't know why they call it Oldwell, but it's not. It's like actually a lot of young blood, a lot of great leaders. Coldwell Banker's a lot of amazing things going on over there, but I named it iKONIC because Coldwell Banker was most iconic name brand, kind of like Coca-Cola, things like that. So when people think about real estate, let's be honest, they're not thinking about the KWs, the Sotheby's, Christie's. They're thinking about Coldwell Banker. And unfortunately, sometimes that C21 AOL days with those with those agents, but primarily it's Coldwell Banker. So iKONIC was born, and man, we haven't looked back since, man. It just got bigger and better. We're doing a lot of things with UCLA with the kids over there. Just recruited a kid by name Dominic Choi. He's the video coordinator for the UCLA football team. Carson Gordon, our good friend, me and Nick's good friend. He's the face
Awesome
of
kid.
yeah, awesome kid, good character, Olympian. He's doing something with Score First, with our athletes over there. So a lot of different verticals we're trying to do with Score First and iKONIC. It just branches out to so many levels. Hockey, football, Major League Baseball, basketball. We have a lot of partnerships with sports agents. We have one Powerhouse coming soon with Trey Smith. So it's all about just being out there and having a good message out there and having people believe in what you're doing. And I think, Nick, what you're doing out there collectively is a lot of belief. People see what we're doing and they believe in us. And when they believe in us and they feel us and they put fire behind that flame, we become unstoppable. So that's what iconic to this day is.
Yeah, and I think I told you pretty early on too. I'm like, I'm ready to get iconic tattooed on my forehead. Like, I'm ready to get branded. Like, I am all in.
Yep,
Everything that we've kind of stood for from the start. Like I told you, like knowing kind of what we both came from,
yep,
and then going into this world where, let's keep it real here, we are absolutely David versus Goliath.
yep,
And just that kind of, it's easy to have the chip on your shoulder because
right,
some people just kind of have it like that, and they just kind of, it's nothing to them. Like they have things handed to them. Uh, what we've stood from the start, even before there was an iconic, even before we both knew each other,
yep,
was like being self-made and kind of building from scratch. Like
mhm,
we when we first started this thing, like there were no sweet cushy connections and people, handing us things or anything like that. It was all very much self-made, built from scratch, and I really love that. That is like easy to respect, and not everyone, has to do it that way. But I think it's also taught us, both individually, a ton too, having to go the hard way. There's no, as they say, there's no elevator to success. Only the stairs, kind of thing. But and then in addition to that, what I'll also say that I also love and why I would get iconic tattooed on my forehead, like you mentioned, some of the partnerships we have, some of the college athletes, Carson, that work with us, and we've kind of taken under our wing a little bit, training how to have a real estate career, maybe after they're done, or even currently with to coincide with their careers. But it's all good people.
yep.
There's no
Egos.
kind of passengers, I guess I would say. There's no
Yep,
kind of fake people. There's no clout chasers in
yep,
iconic, and unfortunately, they're out there. We
yep.
deal with them, we see them,
We,
we
we
know
we
them.
worked with a few before. We worked with a few before, and you know what?
We all, yeah,
And
they're all
yep,
over. We all
all
have, and
over.
we don't have any of those in iconic. So
No.
I've always been very impressed with the people who've kind of, you know, joined us, and it's good. Like you're obviously way more of a mentor and coach than I am, but um, to be able to produce good people in the real estate industry, like we definitely need more of those. And so it's been like an honor being associated with iconic and knowing like the quality of person is definitely something we take seriously. And also another football guy we've had the pleasure of knowing, Bryson Shaw,
Yep.
former SC Trojan safety, awesome
Yep.
athlete, and a very awesome dude. But just like you sit down with these young guys or these people that we partner up with, and they're all good people.
All right.
And the way, I don't know, like how you feel. My kind of view on like partnerships and stuff is like, would I be friends with this person?
Yeah.
You know,
That's how we got
would
it.
I have a few with them? Like
Yep.
that's how I view it. But yeah, there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of clout chasing, a lot of fake friendship, fake,
Yeah.
colleague stuff out there, and it's iconic has been just like a slap in the face to all of that. And
Mhm.
yeah, so that's my
No,
iconic rant.
I love what you said, and we forgot to mention Jerry Johnson, man. He used to play for UCLA as a receiver, played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a season, and he's a guy that doesn't have the ego, and I want to say ego in a way because when we have success and when we have any type of situations, it's just human nature sometimes for people to think outside the box and feel like they're bigger than the situation, right? Which is okay, some whatever you need to do to get yourself motivated. But being who I am and being who you are, and in my experience in real estate, I just don't want to be around negativity. I don't want to be around clout chasers or people with ego because the thing about it is ego is a cancer and it's going to self-inflict you if you don't know how to navigate through business situations, friendships, things like that sort. So I'm glad you brought that up. We have nothing but good people in our organization, and we're going to continue to grow. We're not done here. I think when you talk about it, we're very still in the early stages of a growth, and we're looking to grow nationwide. We're looking to build partnerships with people in the East Coast, in the Midwest. There's so many things that me and Nick are trying to do, and it doesn't stop here. We're just barely growing, and to see the growth from what you said, Nick, it just astounds me where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, you know, as far as actually working and representing the athletes too, I know you got to work with. I mean, I don't know, like if you want to say names or anything, but I know you got to work with a. I almost said San Diego Charger. That's shows my. I'm clearly a
Yeah,
hockey guy. I almost
yeah,
said San Diego Charger, but you got to work with an LA Charger recently,
yeah,
which I know was very cool. Anytime we get to work with like an NHL or NFL guy, like that's always one we get up for. Not that we don't get up for everyone, but
yeah,
you know, there's something obviously pretty cool, being that we're both kind of sports nerds. But
yeah.
uh, like, what was that like, and how different was that than like your day to day kind of client?
Yeah, it was different. So to what you said, it's a San Diego Superchargers, and yeah, I still look at them as a San Diego, but no, it was a great experience working with the Charger, and just they're just like us, man. They want the VIP treatment just like us. They want to know when the move-in date is. They want to know how you can help them with the move, with the movers, things like that. So they're very much as human, just like everyone else. But the thing that we see different is we see them on Sundays on television, right? It kind of throws it off, and when we're working with the entertainers, like it was even weird with me working with Donovan for the first few episodes because
Right.
I still remember seeing him on the big screen with The Rock and him on that yacht party doing crazy things, and I'm like, bro, did that really happen? So I'm asking these these stories and these questions, and then once you break it down, they're just human. They're good people. Donovan's, I would say, same caliber as you, man. A really good friend of mine. I can call him in a pinch. It doesn't have to be just about podcasting or anything else. It could just be about, what's going on his day to day. So, like you said, brother, like it comes down to, can I have a beer with that person, or can I come just to shoot the shit, right? And that's where I want to grow our circle, right? We have to be tight knit and trust each other, because if I can't trust you, we can't do business with each other, and it goes with them too. They can't trust us. How are they gonna trust us with a $2.5 million commercial deal, things like that sort, right? So it all comes down to trust.
Yeah, for Donovan, that was funny because I was a huge Ballers fan. I think I saw every episode. I love that show. That was such a good show. I didn't watch Entourage. I wasn't an Entourage guy. So
Yeah,
Ballers was my Entourage. I loved
yeah.
that show. So when I I came into the office one day and you were shooting with Donovan, I'm like, oh shit! Like, I don't get like I get way more starstruck with hockey players. Like,
Yeah,
I always make the joke, like, I get starstruck talking to like fourth line NHL players from the '90s than I do
yeah,
with like celebrities. Like, I don't get all gushy over celebrities. Like, that's not really
yeah,
my thing. But um, I mean, Donovan is also an athlete too. So,
yeah.
but as far as the celebrity component, I never really get starstruck. But that one, I was a little starstruck. I'm like, oh shit! And then we shot an episode of Holding Court with Donovan sitting right there. So I was like, a little, a little starstruck for that, but that was really cool. And like you said, he's an awesome dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get starstruck. I think that goes to my days when I was working the beat. I met D'Angelo. I met Tupac when he was still alive. Tyson Beckford.
Oh shit!
A lot of names, and it's like the Wayans brothers going to Summer Jam, John B. So all these people that, people have posters on their wall. I've met Pac. He's probably the most funniest guy that people could think of. But they don't see that. They see the tough guy image of Pac spinning the camera and stuff like that. But he's really a down to earth guy when you catch him in a one-on-one situation. So with me, I was jaded a little bit as a kid. 18 turning 19, working at the number one radio station in Los Angeles. So I'm kind of used to that. So that's why right now when I see an athlete, it doesn't really shake me. If I were to see like Odell Beckham or whatever right now, it's just another day at the office for us.
Yeah, that's wild. Um, damn, Tupac, really? I didn't know you met
Met Pac,
Tupac.
man. Met Pac, and it was crazy because, a year later, he passes, and it's like, just a lot of ego, man, stuff like that. Unfortunately, that happened with Pac, man. But, as far as a superhero is concerned, man, I had a Tupac poster on my wall, man, when I was 1992, man, when he was doing what was that movie Juice? You know what I mean? So Pac was, someone in my childhood that I grew up, I admired. Jordan was one of them. But talking about the hip hop world, it was Pac, it was LL. Never met LL yet, but many of these. What's funny is many of these people that are athletes and entertainers follow me on IG, and it's like kind of like if this is me as an 18, we didn't have. First and foremost, we didn't have no social media when I was a kid. Let's put that out there. This is how old I am. The first type of social media came out when I was in my 20s was MySpace.
Oh yeah,
So
I remember
that's how old
that.
I am.
On MySpace.
Right. And so, a lot of these celebrities do follow me on Instagram and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, it's a come in a light moment that how far I've gone as far as like putting in the work. I know that man, even with your transactions, stuff like Nick and work in the hockey world, it's kind of like a coming to light moment. Like, wow, I've seen Nick do this amazing things from the time that we met at downtown Los Angeles, trying to get you back to real estate with me. And seeing you shine like that, man, it's like a winning a championship moment, bro, when I see you win.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was. I was really excited when we first linked back up, and I kind of saw what was coming. I don't know if I necessarily saw it happening so quickly or whatever, but I knew there was a lot of promise. So, um, kind of touching on how long you've been in the real estate game too. Like,
Yep.
you might have a lot of answers for this, but I mean, what would you say is your top thing that if you could change something about the real estate industry, what would be your number one thing?
Um, More licenses, like more to vet them out, because we have people in our industry, like, respectfully shouldn't be in our industry. Um, it's kind of like it doesn't, I feel like to do what we do, you have to have a lot of empathy. And you gotta be a good person because sometimes we're dealing with families who don't got the money for the down payment, and we're trying to make things work. And sometimes we're dealing with people who are just going through tough times, right? And a lot of times, a lot of us don't have empathy and don't have a great heart. So I feel like, man, there's got to be more qualifications. A lot of people lead with money, and I think that's like the downfall of a lot of real estate agents is you're thinking about money, the transaction. It's so transactional. You're looking at someone as, oh, that's a $12,000 commission or that's a $7,000 commission. No, I look at everyone as a person and how I can help them. And I just helped a family out in Culver City buy their kids a first condo, and they just hit me up. They're like, "Hey, Ant, man, thank you for the experience, man. You went above and beyond, and we're gonna be selling our house, which is what's crazy. Their parents' house is worth 1.6, and by default they're giving you the referral, but you're not even looking at that. I'm just looking at the time that I spent with that family at that moment, and I just really want them to win. And I think we lack a lot of people with empathy in our industry, Nick. So if I can change something, if there could be a change, is have more requirements, man. Have people take an ethics class where it's about like, don't lead with commissions because that's going to be the downfall of any real estate agent or anybody in any industry when you think about money first. Money's not going to make you happy at the end of the day.
So one of the things I think I've told you before too is, this is kind of touching on some business stuff here, but you are probably the best recruiter that I know. I mean, and I think for anyone who's watched this conversation, they probably get an idea of why. Like you're really uh, be about it and don't just talk about it kind of thing. And you lay an example for people. And I think that's why a lot of agents, including myself, have been very loyal to having you as the mentor and kind of going where you go, kind of speak. There's several agents who've been with you a long time too, and they go where Anthony goes. And you know, in a lot of other fields, recruiting is very crucial as well, just like
Mhm.
real estate. Like, what's kind of your? I mean, I don't know if you have a secret to being like an awesome recruiter, but like, you know, what's kind of your special ingredients?
Man, I'm glad you brought that up. It could be like the same thing at UCLA, USC, Northwestern, Ohio State. Recruiting is the key to the team success. So if you don't have good players, you don't have a good nucleus, a good family dynamic, the team's gonna not shine or not do well. With me is I do what I say and I try to lead by example. and I try to be the most empathetic person possible. You know, not everyone's having a great day. We don't know what's going on in that person's world. They might have a family crisis, a family situation. So we just have to be in tune and, not have an ego. I think one of the things that helped me out with recruiting is not having an ego, learning to be empathetic, and learning to be a person, a team player. I'm always a team player, even if I'm a leader or if I'm doing something, I'm leading a situation. I got to be a team player, and I think that's what a lot of people fail to do is they're holier than thou, when they're a leader, and I think people get turned off with that. Same with coaches, when they're trying to recruit a player. I think Chip Kelly didn't have a great experience recruiting players because Chip had a different type of system. He went back in his back history where he was winning at Oregon. I guess that didn't translate to UCLA or anything of that sort. So, it's sad because I love the UCLA football program. I grew up watching it, the Wayne Cook days, the Mike Nguyen, JJ Stokes. That's why when I was covering UCLA football, even though they weren't winning, it was still something that was like near and dear to my heart. I love doing it. I love showing up the Rose Bowl because I love the program. And just like if you love real estate, you love people, it's not a hard disconnect to recruit people. So with me, and by the way, I stopped recruiting, real estate agents. It's people that, come to me, say, hey, I want to learn about real estate. That's not my forte anymore. My forte is really just building iKONIC right now, in production, and try to build something special for myself and you, man, to do something different. We're more than real estate agents, right? We're out here helping the community. We're out here doing things that we love. I love showing up to the arenas. I love interviewing people just like you, man. Holding court is something that, again, I like to watch, and you love going to the hockey arenas, man. And that's like I feel like your second home. When you go there, it's like it's bringing back days when you were playing. It's bringing back days when you were coaching. So doing things that we love to do, brother. I think that's makes it easy transition.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, um, I got one more thing for you, but I'll cut it after that just because, we had 20 minutes of me trying to figure out how to work a computer.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
no
but
doubt.
last kind of thing I did want to ask you was kind of kind of plays a little bit into the recruiting side too, but
Mhm.
what do you got next that you can talk about lined up for what your plans are for iKONIC? I know you mentioned score first, and
Mhm.
obviously bringing some of these elite, college athletes into our group as real estate agents. Learning the ins and outs, actually practicing real estate while they're
Right.
also elite, athletes, world class athletes.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of once again touching on Carson, like absolutely a model for, if I'm a young athlete, that's a great role model to look up to. Good kid who's
Yeah.
obviously super ambitious. He does 27 different sports and does them all well. And then on top of that, he's a licensed real estate agent
Yeah.
who's in the trenches doing open houses. I mean, that's a great role model right there. And
Yeah.
once again, you're his mentor. So yeah, like what do you got planned next as far as score first and some of the other kind of partnerships and things like that?
I think respectfully, I think Nick, you're gonna be in the trenches with me. We want to take iKONIC nationwide, and I think it's something that it's near to dear my heart. I feel like we gotta do baby steps. We don't want to do something where we create something that looks visually good, but no substance behind it, right? We gotta do something that's valuable to the next realtor partner that we have in Texas or Ohio or even New York. So we're working on something nationwide. I think Nick, you know that we're trying to build that, and once it does, I think again baby steps because we don't want to like grow too quick. We've seen so many situations like the OKC Thunder. They grew too quick. They got really good too quick. And they disbanded, right? And we don't want to be like that. We want to be sustainable. And how to be sustainable is preaching what we do, being in the trenches. I still do open houses sometimes. You mentioned Carson doing it. Carson does open houses. So just sticking to the basics, being true to yourself, and being true to the model and the message because a lot of people they say certain things, Nick, but they don't follow through. And I think that's the disconnect between truth and fairy tale. And we don't want to live in that world. We want to live with substance and having a kind of like a band of agents build this beautiful network. That's what we're going to be doing in the future with iKONIC.
All right, man. Well, this was super cool. Thanks for jumping on, and yeah, I'll be seeing you at the office. I'll be seeing you around.
If I find that clip when I'm on the radio, man, I gotta find it because I had to relive that story with Paige not so long ago about the beat and Bryant. So I gotta find the recordings, man. The radio world, I will not miss the radio world. It was, but thanks for having me on, man, reliving some of my stories. But shout out to everybody. Shout out to my wife who's listening out there. All the glory to God always, man. Nothing is possible without God. And thanks for having me, brother. Always a pleasure.